Hey guys, today I'm here to discuss episode 5 of Dimensions 20's new season, Neverafter, and oh boy, has this season been a roller coaster of a ride already. I mean, if you've been watching it, it is nothing new, but this is literally the second time our party has been introduced to each other. Thankfully, they remember. I was really worried that they weren't going to remember each other and what happened, but they did. So we at least got that out of the way. But yeah, they did have to come back together, kind of do some reintroductions on sort of new things that are going on. My man Gerard still had the glass shard in his chest. His was my favorite entrance of just like, someone get this out of me, like trying to be so conspicuous, just so conspicuous. And it's really cool to see like the new drawings that they have. They're level 3 now, thank goodness. I was super worried, especially since the majority of this story is building up to another battle. And it kind of went the exact same way that the building up of the fairy godmother fight went. So needless to say, I'm a little worried for the next episode, but I do know that like they're more established. They have more hit points, thank goodness. They've got more spells and stuff. And Emily, our resident wolf, Red, she is now a multi-class. She's a druid and a barbarian, which I think is so cool and opens up so many awesome possibilities. And I saw someone talking about how like, yeah, it's so great, like all the like possibilities, and it makes so much sense with like the wildlife and stuff like that that she's leaning into, but also we just have another person that can use healing spells, and like we really needed that. I mean, it is now on a how old did she say she was? 11 and a half? It's now up to an 11-and-a-half-year-old and a, I don't know how old Mother Goose is, 70-year-old man. So that's our healing party, which is a little interesting, but I'm excited to see how this is gonna go, the fight next week. I'm not looking forward to the fact that it's spiders, I'll be honest with you on that. I'm really not looking forward to that, but I just feel like it started off on such a better note already of like them not being caught and being able to sneak in and get the drop on the enemies. And then the interesting thing though too is, again, like with the fairy godmother fight, we don't know like what the end game is exactly, because it's like the whole reveal of another storyteller having a book similar to Timothy's and it being potentially like a different universe is kind of what I was getting at. That opens up so many possibilities for like different stories, because obviously there are like not exactly the same characters, but like versions of characters I feel like that are very like not generic, but just like broader, like a trickster cat or something like that, or a big spider, where it's like, okay, you could say in this story they're like the bad person, but then in this story they're the good person. So in the other story world that we were introduced to, they need the spider, is what the group is thinking, so I'm thinking as the guardian so they can get through this cave that they're stuck in. And it feels like the spider is something that's supposed to help them, but then in the world that we're in Neverafter right now, this spider is collecting magical items and seemingly not helping people. So I don't know like if it is something that can be persuaded to go back to where it came from, if it even is something that like hopped worlds. I think it's not out of the realm of possibility to think like, oh, if Cinderella and the fairy godmothers can jump through different stories, it's not out of the realm of possibility to think like, oh, maybe someone got crossed and like their world they accidentally hopped over or got brought out. You know, like maybe there's like pockets left over when like the fairies and the princesses travel through that like someone could accidentally stumble into, and maybe that's what happened with the spider. And the spider's like, hey, I don't have to live in a cave. Well, they do still live in a cave, but like I don't have to like fight whatever it's guarding in this world, and like I can just collect magical items and be like a spider queen here and stuff like that. Like I don't want to go back to my old world. I could see that where it's like, you know, your world is better here, and like they'll have to convince the spider that like you have an important part of your story and like you need to go back there. But then also I could see like, I think Pip was the one that was like, all right, worst case scenario though, like we just kill it, right? Like I feel like that's kind of where it's gonna be, because I feel like that's where they kind of lost their way with the fairy godmother fight, was not trying to outright attack her for a long time, and then I think they just fell too far behind before they could catch up. Speaking of the fairy godmother fight though, thankfully, and man did they draw it out and I was getting super stressed, the glass shard is in the book. Now I was really worried, especially when they were like talking, and I was like, just put the shard in the book please. But they did it. Gerard did not, you know, he revealed I loved when they were like, did the fairy that you talked to give you like any way to contact you or tell you anything? And he was like, no. And like Brennan was like, all right, I'm gonna need a deception check for that. Like it was just so funny. But I'm glad that he didn't really fight them. I don't know if he'll be in trouble for letting them put it in the book, but I'm glad that he didn't fight them or try and trick them more. I mean, Gerard is not like, he's not the most like subtle. Like, I don't think he would have had an easy time tricking them, and I also don't think he would have gone about it in the best way. Like, I think they would have figured it out. So it's just interesting to see, like, yeah, how it's going to be with Pinocchio and Gerard both being contacted by people who are working for the other side and working against us, even though in a way, like, I still don't know, like, we still don't know what the book is about, right? Like, we know the book is, like, kind of neither good nor bad. Like, it's just, like, collecting stories. So I don't know if, like, if you get all the stories, then that'll be a new world or whatever, but then it's also like now you're committed to those stories, because it's like with Cinderella, it was like her story happened how we all know it to happen, right? But that's not what she wants for her story anymore, and there's those blank pages in between where I think I don't know what it means exactly, and like there's just, I have not felt like since probably Of Mice and Murder, like so unsure of what's going on in a season, and just like I feel like a dum-dum, but like literally I don't know what anything means, and it's just like it's frustrating on one hand because I watch an episode and I'm like, wow, I have like no theories. And then on the other hand, it's so interesting to see it play out. And I think it's going to be one of those things that the reveals are very, very satisfying. But right now I'm sitting here like, wow, I just am not understanding any of this. So like, I don't get what the like blank pages mean with Cinderella, but I do know that like, to me, this book, like, first of all, it's capturing people, which, yeah, it puts them in, like, happier situation. Well, for King Cole, it put him in a happier situation. But, like, if Cinderella got trapped in that book, she wouldn't want to be stuck in that story. Like, she has her own story and her own life that she's out forging. So it's kind of like, I still don't know what the deal with the book is. Like, I think it's more to, like, preserve history or something like that. But then, like, the fact that it actually, like, sucks the people in is so confusing. And then like even the story with the cat and the fiddle, like they got this dish, they got the cow, but like it's not a completed story. So it's like, how is that not a completed story? But then like King Cole's was without his fiddlers and stuff like that because they had obviously already died. So it's just like, it's confusing. And then it's like, can you pull them out of the book? Like if they get the spider into the book, can the other storyteller then pull them out of the book in their world, you know? Like it's interesting. I like the idea that the storytellers can communicate through the book. That's really interesting. And the idea of there being multiple storytellers. So we've met two, and then we've had a mention of a third one, and people are saying obviously that the Brothers Grimm will probably come into play. And then if Ariel is around in this universe, that's Hans Christian Andersen. So he might also be a storyteller. And it's just a very interesting concept that it's been brought up of like there are different people in this world, because then it's like, does that world have its own version of fairies, or are the fairies like completely like multi-hopping across like all these universes and stuff? Because that wasn't Neverafter that they were talking to. I'm just so curious. Like every episode I feel like brings up more questions than answers, and like I feel like it all has to do with this book, right? And like people have also been pointing out that like we might not have met the big bad yet, where it's like, yeah, the fairies seem to be kind of the big bad, but then like is there one that they're working for? Like what's their goal, what's their motivation, and things like that. And it's just so interesting to already be on episode 5 and kind of had like a hard reset in a way, with like all the characters being reintroduced. They have new abilities, new powers, and you know, kind of new outlooks on life. Like Gerard is a full frog now. I also don't know how many episodes this is going to be. I'm assuming like the 16 that they normally have, but it just feels like like you're watching it and you're like, what is happening? And there's so many questions that I have, and like I said, it's just hard to come up with theories. One, because I feel like I don't know a lot about fairy tales, and that's on me, okay? I'm gonna be honest. Like whenever I see like Brennan say something and Siobhan like immediately know what he's talking about, I'm like, must be nice, because I'm just like here like struggling. But I just think the idea of that we get more and more in each episode of seeing more fairy tales, and even like the idea of like the 3 little bears that we were getting introduced to, and now there might be a bear that's tracking them or something like that, and the idea that you never know what version of a story or a character that you know we're gonna get. Like even the thing with like the spider that seemed like such a little throwaway turned out to be a big thing, because it helped lead us to the bigger spider afterwards. I personally can't wait till they start looking for Ariel. I'm super pumped for that. I know that's kind of like a, if you find her, not like an immediate quest kind of thing, but like I'm just excited to see more about the princesses, and obviously to see Cinderella, to meet Snow White. Like I love the princesses, so I'm really excited to see like these awakened princesses. I also like, I think Brennan was the one that mentioned it, of like that's like the term for like when you realize you're in a story, is like you're awakened, which I think makes it sound super cool and like super like fantasy-esque. So I'm just excited to see how this fight's gonna go. I'm very nervous, like I said, but like the fact that they have so much more in their arsenal seems to make me a little bit more hopeful. Like Ylfa, I feel like was amazing with like cracking her bones into like a spider. Ugh, so gross. Just seeing them all kill it with stealth and like actually get the drop on this fight makes me so excited. So I'm just, yeah, I'm unsure of what's going to happen, because it's like, do we put the spider in the book? Do we kill the spider? Is there like a portal that in this cave that the spider is guarding that like we could just convince them to go back in? Like, it's just so astounding that I watch these episodes and I'm like, I have more questions than I have answers, but it's not frustrating. It's just like, wow, this is a great story and a great storytelling, and I'm so enthralled, and I wish I could watch all the episodes right now and not have to wait a week in between, because after every episode ends, I'm like, all right, the next one. And like this one, like building up to the spider fight, like I knew we weren't going to get to it because it was getting closer and closer to the end, but I was just like, come on, I want to see them, and I don't want to have to worry about them like actually getting killed. And someone was pointing out too, like how concerning it could be, and I was wondering this myself, like, one member of the party dies instead of all of them, like does that party member then get sent back to another dimension and our party has to try and find a way to hop into that dimension and find them? Like, it brings up all kind of scary things. We still don't know what those red gems are about that Brennan's giving them, but Pib almost got another one in this episode, which was very scary. So yeah, there's just a lot going on, and I am excited and more hopeful than I was in the fairy godmother fight. I think I'm just nervous because of how that fight went, but I feel more hopeful than I did before that fight. So I think they got this. I think they got this. But yeah, if you have any thoughts or theories, please leave them down below. Like I said, I have no idea what's going on with this book. Like, I think I do, but I don't know. So yeah, if you have seen the episode, please feel free to leave your thoughts down below. Also, make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!